There once was a family of 6 children, husband and wife, and they were a very progressive family. And the parents felt that the rules stymied their children, and that they wanted their children to grow in a good way. So they decided what they needed to do was they were going to form a group that would look at the rules that the family had and to see which they could get rid of. And on this committee was going to be most of the children. They were going to have it headed up by one of the children who was most outspoken about the rules. And there would be one of the parents. Now, the parents would have an equal vote to all the children as to what rules they would get rid of. Oh, that just sounds like a stupid idea, doesn't it? I mean, liberal, crazy idea. Let the children make up the rules when the parents. Wait a minute. I'm getting a memory of something. I just watched the governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley's third State of the State address. Many points in there, some very good points, some I have a problem with. But there was one she was talking about, she's a big fan, a big supporter of business, and we have gained 31,000 jobs, which is fantastic. Huge investments by business. We are now, I believe, again, leading the nation in business growth from foreign investment. And so South Carolina is moving up. Our unemployment rate is slowly coming down, and this is a good thing. And she's a big supporter of business. And she mentioned that if government is costing business time, it's costing them money. So we need to do something about that. And of course, the old standby is regulations are stymieing business. So what the governor said is that the legislature needed to look at the regulatory environment of South Carolina, but that she was gonna do something. She announced the formation of a gubernatorial task force to look at regulations for this purpose, and this is the stated purpose, to look at regulations to see which regulations can be eliminated, those that cause business trouble. Now, the agencies that regulate business, she wants to look at those regulations. And who is she putting on that committee to make those decisions about which regulations should be removed from business? According to the governor, it will be made up largely of members of the business community. Did you hear me right? Members of the business community are going to be the ones deciding which regulations of business they can get rid of. Now, she's also included a pick from the majority and minority leader of both the House and the Senate. But they get an equal vote as the business owners. Now, that sounds so much like my preposterous idea of letting the children make the rules. Look, I am a business owner, small business owner. I work part-time for another small business owner. We don't want to be overburdened and buried down by regulations. But any regulation, cost, business, time equals money. Any regulation. The regulation that requires that the oil that is being used at the fast food restaurant be at a certain temperature, or that the freezer keep it at a certain temperature, or the safety requirements on a construction site. Those cost the business money and time. But they're there for a very specific reason, to protect you and I. Now, regulations have become the whipping boy for how we're stifling economic growth. But to say that we're going to let the business community regulate the business community specifically to get rid of regulation is a preposterous idea. Now, I do believe that any regulation should take into consideration how it affects business, but it shouldn't be the only consideration. And the decision about regulating business shouldn't be left in the hands of business. Because even good people who are good business people will look for ways to avoid regulations. And here's the thing I want to ask the governor. If our regulatory system is so constrictive and so heavy and burdensome, how did we get the 31,000 new jobs and the billions of dollars of investment from new and existing businesses? Look at Michelin exploding all over South Carolina, adding jobs and investment. We brought Boeing here. We make the most tires in the country because Continental is added to. And we could go down the list. If all these regulations are so burdensome to business, why are we getting more business? Folks, you need to talk to the governor. This is ridiculous. We don't need business reaching around looking through the files of regulations to say, oh, I don't like that one, let's get rid of it. We should look at regulations periodically. We should look at it with an eye of why is the regulation there? What is it doing? What is in the best interest of the public? And how does it affect business? We don't want to overburden business, but any regulation is going to be uncomfortable for business. There has to be a balance. And a gubernatorial task force made up of the business people is wrong. Just as crony pop and good old boy politics was wrong, so is good old business boy politics wrong. I just want to throw one thing out there. There's a term that gets so many people upset when President Obama is talked about, and that's executive order. Yet our governor in this discussion about regulation said she was going to do things through executive order. No, I don't have a problem. The state constitution, I think, allows her to have executive order. But let's be consistent here. So let's make sure that we don't let the inmates run the prison. Let the animals run the zoo. I know those are negative connotations, and I'm not calling business inmates or animals. I'm a businessman. But we have to be smart about this. Contact your senators, contact your representatives, and call the governor. And say, let's make sure we're looking at more than just, is this easier on business? All right, this has been Eric with another voice. Heard Mondays, 1 to 2 p.m. on Spin FM 103.3 in Greenville, Greer, and Spartanburg. Also, you can go to canigetawordin.com and see our podcast, our videos and our podcast and other information. And you can go to iTunes and subscribe to our podcast channel there, Another Voice with Jason and Eric. And if you got plans for lunch tomorrow, cancel them. Go to Little Pigs at Hudson Corner. Absolutely delicious barbecue, great sides, the best sweet tea in Greenville, and great prices. And if you need catering, give Doug a call at 244-1090. He'll give you a great deal. That's 2428 Hudson Road, Little Pigs at Hudson Corner. Have a great evening.